Spooky boogie!
It happened again. It all comes full circle.
Woo! Hello and welcome to Cels, episode 76. I'm your host, Alex Schmitz, and with me here today is Kenneth McNulty.
Sybil is the worst.
And with that awesome opening, Clara Heimberger.
It's actually appropriate for once.
I know.
Fun
your
fact,
catchphrase.
if you didn't know we were dating, Claire and I are dating, and the reason is because of Spooky Boogie. 100% true. I'm not lying.
Yes, back in episode 31 of Cels, the Clara cast, as it's called,
God,
where...
why?
Don't you remember the title and the number?
well,
really wrote it down.
I made them. And
I forget what I make.
I re-listen to the podcast every once in a while.
You
They
just
bring
wanna
back
hear
good
our
memories.
voices.
It's true.
No, on the best moments, that's still my favorite moment. Because just being
Yes.
called out of nowhere, I was hanging out with Chris, and they were like, "Can you make her say Spooky Boogie?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "She only does it when you ask."
Well,
and I was like, "Oh."
Blame Matt. It was his idea.
Yeah, that was like losing his
100%
mind.
Matt.
Gosh, because see, you started it because it was the best.
Aw, is daddy adorable?
Yeah.
All right, so diving into who we are part of Tech Eds, which is part of AVW Productions, a media production organization at Ohio University. We here at Tech Eds do all sorts of cool things with video games, movies, music, anime, all sorts of cool stuff. We're here today to talk about, I honestly don't know why it took me this long to get to this, because Psycho-Pass 2 ended like 3 months ago.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Remember we started watching it when it first premiered.
Right, we watched the first episode. We did a podcast on the first episode, and then we haven't touched it since. But I kind of decided we're getting here near the end of the year, and I wanted to do Psycho-Pass, because we all have Psycho-Pass.
Yeah, it's still a fantastic series.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it.
The movie.
Diving in... The movie's supposed to be really good. Diving into the news that's happened recently, this one has me pretty excited. The creators of Steins Gate are making a... quote-unquote sequel to it. It's not actually like set like after the true ending of the original visual novel, but it's kind of like spinning off of one of the other routes. Basically, we're getting more Steins Gate, and they've already announced that there will be an anime made off of it. So that has me pretty excited.
It's based on a visual novel?
Steins Gate Zero. Yes, it is.
Like everything is.
It's a visual novel, light novel, or manga. That's the majority of anime.
It's the best way to come out, though. Like visual. I've had like a lot of the shows I've been watching recently or seeing, or my friends have been seeing, are usually visual novels.
Yeah.
Must be good. I'll play one.
Well, visual novels, dating sims, a lot of harem shows will be like that. And Clannad. All the key stuff. We are actually getting, I don't know if you guys have seen this, there's an anime coming out in July, I think, called Charlotte, that's by Jun Maeda, who's the guy who wrote Clannad, who wrote Angel Beats. And so he's working with PA Works, who made Angel Beats, the studio, to make a new anime, a new original
You should
product.
tell Matt.
Because he just loved Angel Beats so
He
much.
loves it. Number one.
Every time you say that, I always think Angel Cop.
Oh
Every
God.
time I'm just like, wait.
I remember
Never watched that.
back before I'd even seen Angel Beats, I confused the two because I knew, okay, there was a show with Angel that
Is
was
that
really
sacrilegious?
good and really bad.
If you confuse them, they're like, get out.
Apparently.
Angel Cobb.
Oh, I meant to ask, actually,
worst.
before we go ahead, when are we going to watch Mad Bull 34 for the podcast?
No.
How much of that has Jeremy shown to you?
Like 10 minutes, but it's all I needed.
Oh, God. Well,
No, I can't.
the thing with Mad Bull 34 is, ironically,
The manga's good, I heard.
it ends poorly. The fourth OVA is the end of the series, and it's bad because it takes itself seriously. That's the problem.
See, when it makes itself a joke, that's when it's actually kind of enjoyable.
Exactly. Like the grenade scene, for those who know of that, is like hilarious.
I don't know if I saw that.
Okay, well,
Well,
you have something to look forward to
at
then.
some point.
Don't worry. And this is kind of interesting. Hideki Anno, the creator of Evangelion, is apparently involved with Toho, I believe it's their name. They're the people who do Godzilla. And they're doing a new Godzilla movie, and Anno is like the co-writer and director on it.
Oh, is he all psychological and stuff?
I don't know.
Who is like getting the Godzilla Shinji? I really hope it turns into Ultraman. I really hope it does.
I could get behind that, you know.
Seriously. The Jaegers, oh my god, what if this is just the sequel? What if this is just Pacific Rim 2?
It's coming out
Pacific Rim 2.
in 2016.
I can believe it.
Yeah.
Anno helps write it.
If Godzilla goes human instrumentality, I'm out. That's all I'm saying.
If they just have one guy like leaning on his hands, just looking at the screen, I'm out. I'm not doing it.
And then the last piece of news is like the winter season has recently ended, so the spring season is starting to begin. So different websites are picking up like rights to various things. Funimation got Seraph of the End, Ninja Slayer, which is the new anime from Studio Trigger. I'm actually looking forward to that quite a bit. Crunchyroll has Baby Steps, Nisekoi, Plastic Memories. They have Fate Stay Night Unlimited, Blade Works again.
You said a new Trigger anime?
Yes.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, no, it's called Ninja Slayer. It's like, it's being broadcast on Nico Nico, which is like the equivalent of, it's Japanese YouTube basically. And so I think they're only like 12-minute episodes, like they're half-length episodes. So like animation-wise, I'm not expecting the best budget, to be perfectly honest, but it's got a really like stylized look to it. So it could be really cool.
Huh.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. All right, and then animation we've watched since last time. As I said, for myself, since the winter season was ending, so the winter shows I've been seeing have been wrapping up. Some ended really well, others not so much. Shirobako being the best one. It's an anime done by PA Works, the studio that did Angel Beats and Nagi no Asakara and stuff. About an anime production company. So it's
really?
Yeah, so it's literally
So
and
meta.
a lot of it is based off of like real world stories. Like there's the president of their company is identical to the actual president of MAPPA, former president of Madhouse. So like there are people who are literally like the voice actresses for the characters in the show look like the actual voice actresses that are playing their characters in the show.
So meta, that's incredible.
It's very meta, and it did like informative, like teaching you about the anime industry and like how these things are made and like the production schedule issues and all that, but then also made the characters really relatable and enjoyable and did this good like workplace drama kind of thing.
Wait, so is it like really realistic the way it looks? Like, is it actually pretty like
No.
the animation?
Like yeah, like the animation's very realistic. Some of like there's still characters with like red hair and stuff like
yeah,
that,
man.
but
Is that weird, Alex? People that have red hair?
not like
Oh, you mean
orange
actual
hair,
red
like
hair? Sorry.
literal
I was like,
red
Are you
hair.
trying to say something about gingers?
No,
Alex?
no. My dad is a ginger. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so really good. One of my favorite anime, actually. Rolling Girls, kind of disappointing ending, honestly. Al Noah Zero, I was really kind of liking the direction the second half of the show was going in, but it kind of fizzled out at the end a bit. Assassination Classroom, still ongoing. That show's actually pretty damn funny. Garo ended strong. Yatterman Night, last episode, like, in the second half of Yatterman Night, it slowed down for me. Like, it became less enjoyable. The last episode was really good. The only issue with it being that they were clearly running out of time, and they reused a bunch of shots, like, over and over again.
Oh, what?
Yeah, so that did drag it down a bit for me. Death Parade, another Madhouse show. That's another one that was, like, one of the best this season for sure. Really good, excellent, emotional ending to that series. Log Horizon Season 2 ended really nicely. Maria the Virgin Witch also ended nicely. So a lot of things ended well. A couple were disappointing to me, but that's kind of typically how it is. The winter season was actually a lot stronger than a lot of people thought it would be.
That's
So,
impressive.
It is good. Kenny, how about yourself?
For animation recently, obviously Psycho-Pass. So watch that.
Right.
I've been watching more live action stuff honestly recently than animation.
Well, what have you been watching live action then?
Well, have you ever heard of Danger 5?
Oh god.
I actually haven't.
Oh my god!
Oh,
I'll give you like a
no.
2-second. Like it's long story short, it's it was filmed 2011, still being filmed now, and it's filmed in the style of the old '60s shows, like cheesy sets, everything's a model, like the explosions are over the top, the hammy acting. You see like all the voice acting they try to do doesn't overlay with their voices, like or their mouths. They do a really good job to make it authentic, and it's just them trying to kill Hitler, World War II. It's as cheesy as it can get. Like one of the episodes is called "Dinosaurs of the Third Reich." It's fantastic. I told Jeremy about it, so you may see him watching it.
Okay, that does sound interesting.
And the only other show is called Rome. It's a HBO series that came out 2008, 2010, that region. And Aaron and I have been watching it. We just finished the season finale. It broke me in half, and it's the saddest show I've seen in a very long time.
Sadder than Clannad?
It's close.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
I
it's
was gonna
really good.
say. That is reminding me, though, talking about the ridiculous comedy. We need to finish Cromartie High School
Oh
for
my
our
gosh, yes.
graduation.
Even if we don't do a podcast on that, just a quick honorable mention. Cromartie High School is my new favorite comedic anime. Hands down, is like my favorite comedic anime.
Nichijou is the best.
Nichijou's really good though. I can't always forget. That's the one with the principal and the deer,
And the
right?
goat, yes.
Okay, yeah. That's not a goat. It's a deer.
Well, that's a deer.
He
There's
suplexes
a
it.
goat later. Remember,
Oh my God.
Sasahara rides
He's
a
just
goat.
riding it. Yeah, no, those are great. I love those.
All right, Clara.
Kenny and I have been watching a little bit of not Gravity Falls, Steven
Oh,
Universe.
Steven Yu. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Steven Universe. I think I mentioned that last time too.
So
but,
good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
and
I've been catching little
Ugh.
bits here and there because Jeremy's been watching it a lot.
so good,
It's actually really good, yeah.
Alex. Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh look, we're a kids show. JK, we're not. But
I don't know. If I'm gonna watch one of those shows, it's gonna be Gravity Falls because that's the one I'm
Gravity Falls is
more
phenomenal.
interested
It is.
in.
Well, the first season, it's like, oh, this is cute. And the next season, you're like, did I join a cult? Like it's so. Oh god.
Yeah, for all you fans out there, that last episode, am I right?
Oh god, the last episode.
We have to wait till summer to get the last freaking season finale. Yeah, it's really good. You'd like it.
Yeah, no, I
It's
want to
pretty
watch
great.
it, but I also need to finish Rebels.
You know what you could do though? Watch it with your sister because she'll cry too. Just bring more people to cry with you.
Well, that's what I showed them
come
Clannad
on.
after I'd
You're
seen
a
it.
monster, by the way, because you knew you were watching because you cackled in the background.
Oh yes, and I texted Clara telling them, "Oh, they got to episode 16, Clara." Oh.
And I'm like, Alex, you are a monster.
Pain.
Anything else, Clara?
Psychopaths we've been watching. I went back just by myself when I've just been chilling out and not studying for tests I should be studying for. Haha. I went and looked at a couple of the older Psychopaths episodes because I miss my Babu. And
I miss what's his face.
Your sweet Babu.
yeah, Kagiri is
Kogiri,
best.
yeah. He's not in here, but he is.
Him and his cute little hair clips. I have not seen a body. I refuse to believe he's dead.
I still remember when we were doing the episode by episode podcast on Psychopaths, there was that scene where Akane was remembering all of her encounters with everybody, and she remembered her scene with Kagiri in the bar, and I think I remember you saying that hit you pretty
It hurts
bad.
so bad.
I can't remember. Hold on. Who's the guy who's the spike of the series? Who's that guy again?
Kogami.
Oh, he's Kogami. Yeah, no,
Kogami.
Kogami's who I miss, yeah.
Oh, I
Well,
miss
yeah,
Kogami.
I miss Kogami.
I want him to come
Because he was
back.
there, but not
Well,
really there, but kind of
Good
there.
news, he's in the movie.
I know, that's what I was excited for. I saw that, and I was like, ugh.
Yay! But
Yeah.
it is. Akane is such a bamf. I love her so
number one
much.
waifu,
She
hands
never
down.
stopped being incredible.
She's pretty incredible. Talking about the movie, actually, now that we're diving into our kind of discussion about Psychopaths, the movie is actually being done by Production IG, the studio that originally made the first Psychopaths, and being
goodness.
written by Gena Ibuchi, the guy who wrote the original series,
Thank goodness.
famous writer.
Ibuchi.
Apparently, it's because, and I had to look this up because they don't explain it very well, I don't think. But Psychopaths 2 is set a year and a half after the original.
Yeah.
Psychopaths the movie is set 4 years after the original.
Oh, God.
So it's quite a jump ahead.
Isn't the world a Sybil now?
It's basically, I guess, the Sybil system has been exported to other countries.
I thought they were going to be questioning it after the second one.
Well,
Apparently not.
no.
Apparently, no.
But then there's something with terrorists, and Akane has to go to where they are, outside of Japan, to track them down, and Kogami's involved in that somehow. I read a review of the movie saying it was really good, so
I'm
I'm
glad that
looking
she's so
forward
bad
to
and
it.
Sybil loves her so much. Yeah, you're only supposed to be in Japan, but go take care of our problem.
It's you know
She's
everything
okay.
about us. Go everywhere
She
else
is honestly
now.
the biggest threat to them, so I mean, why not use her?
100%.
It's true.
But they know that she'll uphold the law.
I am the
No
law.
matter what.
She's the Judge Dredd.
I am the law.
If she ever said that, I would have just lost. That would be my respect is fully upon you now.
Yes. And talking about Psychopaths 2, there was some changes in terms of staff and creative stuff. It wasn't written by Gena Ibuchi, rather written by a guy named Toru Bakata, whose credits include Marduk Scramble, Ghost in the Shell Arise, and Fafner, the Fafner series. And it was done by Tatsunoko Productions, not Production IG. Tatsunoko Productions is a long-time studio. They have a pretty good reputation. Not animation-wise, they aren't as good as IG, because IG is one of the best anime has to offer.
Ever.
But they're still pretty good. And then the series director for this series was Kiyotaka Suzuki, not Katsuyuki Motohiro, who was the chief director on the previous show. That guy, Motohiro, I know worked on the movie at IG. But the director, it's weird because they have series director, but then there's just director. And the director for both, for Psychopaths, the original, Psychopaths 2, and the movie have all been Naoyashi Shiotani. So he's the
kept
guy
one.
who's, he's the mainstay over all of them.
Good.
So it seemed. It's interesting because part of the reason that I don't think I did this podcast as soon as it was over was because if you the online reaction to Psychopaths 2 was quite negative. Overall, people really don't like this.
I'm
A
inclined
lot
to
of
agree.
people. Really?
I didn't like it that much.
Okay. Well, interesting. Well, we'll get into it. I mean, I'll start by saying this. I don't think Psychopaths 2 is not as good as the
Hands
original.
down,
No
the first one's
way.
I love the first one.
The first one's way better than this. But I think the first one still did a lot of cool things that I liked. But we'll get into
Now I'm
that.
gonna remember, how did they defeat the villain in the first one? It's been a while since I saw it.
With a real life gun.
Yeah,
That's right, they just shot
Kogami,
him. Okay, I thought so,
Kogami
yeah.
shot him after Makishima.
Oh, right,
Instead of
Fields,
an
yeah.
imaginary
Yeah.
gun,
Hat.
a real gun.
Okay, I remember that.
Don't move or we'll shoot you with our invisible guns. Classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge lines. All right.
In Danger 5, they do that.
Oh, of course they do. Real quick, just mention, I know actually another person who saved the save, I forget his name, but the composer who did Psychopaths 1 came back to do Psychopaths 2.
John Williams.
I wish.
I
No.
don't know.
But he did a really good job this time. Also, the opening and ending themes, both excellent, as
I
we've
do
come to expect.
like them. I have just the chorus stuck in my head all the time.
The ED is done by Egoist, which is the same band that did the EDs in the previous show.
Oh.
So They're both very good. All right, but kind of, I figured we'll kind of dive into the characters, kind of going from our lesser important characters to more important ones as we go.
I just wish they had more time to be fleshed out.
I know.
Yeah, well,
my little hacker baby.
that's the thing. Like,
He was so good.
because they
God.
only gave 11 episodes to Psycho Pass 2, I felt like
It's hard.
they in order to communicate this deep mystery plot that they wanted to do, they had to sideline some of the characters, and I wish
Yeah.
they had gotten more development. Like,
It's the thing I had to take. Trade-off.
yeah, it is the trade-off. I mean, if they had 22 episodes, they would have had more time to do it. Not that like Psycho Pass 1 was like the most character-driven show in the world, but certainly the first half was like a lot of setup, and then the second half of Psycho Pass was more like one continuous
Yeah, it was
plot
just-
line.
Well, I
Akane
mean,
and
like-
Kobe being gods.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
Right.
like the whole character development in the first one was able to like happen between like Akane learning how to deal with the enforcers and learning from Pops, and then finding their issue with
Pops being the
Gino,
best.
Of course he was.
and then just Kogami and all the problems with Sybil. Like that was a pretty good character development.
Exactly. And I think it was if they had only had if they knew they only had 11 episodes to work with, it was wise of the creators of Psycho Pass 2 to like not spend half of the series, setting things up like the original did. It was good to
Right.
just dive in right now because he needed that time
Wait,
to
the first episode was action
explain it. Yeah, well, that was the one we podcasted on
Yeah.
several months ago.
Just robots exploding, Akane just kicking face.
She did kick some face.
Number one.
Talking about the characters, this one is apparently one of Clara's favorites, Hinakawa, her replacement for Kakuri,
He's so
apparently.
cute.
He's the best at hollows.
He is very good at hollows.
Like I was a little bit worried because I'm like, all right, you got the hair over your eye thing going on, you're real shifty, but then he was like, I want to help big sister, and I was like, I love you. So
yeah, he definitely seemed to have like an admiration for Akane that kind of drove him
so
to do.
Cute. He believes in her so much.
Yeah, I mean,
My heart.
I like him. Once again, it's kind of one of those things. He gets so little screen time that's hard to really get
What he does,
beat
it
on him.
shows that he's very competent. Like 187 hollows in one night.
Oh no, he's very good.
Like, oh, he's so good.
Apparently, like addicted to pills too.
Well, I think he
Yeah.
had
they
had
mentioned
like
that.
some drug problem.
They just caught him like with drugs in his cup. He's like, hey.
Hey. So I don't know.
I think they might have been like stimulants, so he was able to stay up all night, because it shows him like completely crashed afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it
So-
was something like that. But
Yeah, precious baby.
I forget. This is one of the characters I actually thought that they did do a pretty good job with in Psycho Pass 2 was Aoyanagi, who's the inspector in Division 2 who gets offed in episode 4.
Yeah.
But her
Yeah.
conversation with Gino, where they were like sitting down like drinking, and she was
God, I
talking
knew
about
she was dead the second that happened.
Yeah, I was like, oh, heart to heart, you did. I'm
You-
sorry,
you
kiddo.
did.
You talked to a main character, you're dead.
but I really liked the conversation they had there because she was talking about how like she's always like secretly like terrified when she's out working that like her psychopath is gonna get clouded and stuff, but she goes and does it anyways because that's what an inspector does.
Yeah.
And like Gino was kind of like, back when I was an inspector, I wouldn't have sat down to have this drink with you, but now I've
Yeah.
mellowed out and I'm cool.
And he
You
doesn't
can't
have a
make it.
giant stick up his butt anymore.
He doesn't.
You don't let Psycho pass up in those conversations.
Thank you,
Hey,
Kenny.
hope you don't mind.
Trying to fit him in wherever possible. Huh?
Driving you mad, Alex?
A little bit mad. But I like the little like friendship they had because
Kenny.
I really do like Gino as a character a lot.
Gino's still one
and
of
I
my
kind of
favorites.
on the one hand I wish he had had more screen time this season, but on the other hand like he has gone through his character arc.
His
He's
arc
had a
happened, so
whole
he needs to
season
step
already.
aside for the new babies, like, hollow
Blah-blah-blah.
guy.
Yeah, so I think that was like the right decision to not focus on him,
But he's still
too
there now.
much.
And
Yeah.
I was afraid he's going to die, because I thought he was going to kill him off in the background. I'm like, Bugino. But
And I remember we talked about that in episode 1, how like different he was because he was like totally on board with like Akane's way of doing things
like,
and his
he's
metal
so
arm and
protective
everything.
of her, and it's so cute.
can I just talk about one of the, I know we're going to talk about it later, but one of the best scenes is where the girl's shooting just like arrows at him. He's just deflecting with his arm like ting, ting, ting. Just no changes of motion, just, yeah, I got this, guys.
I learned from the
God.
best.
Dad, Pops, number 1. Sorry. Shout out to you,
my
Pops.
heart.
Ow, God, I'm sorry. Right here, I'm moving.
Kenny just injured himself on the
I'm
table.
going to lose my leg. I need a metal leg I need a metal arm like,
Okay. Are you going to turn the Full Metal Alchemist middle leg and arm?
Oh my God, I have to go sacrifice a mom first. Anybody have a mom that needs sacrifice, I guess, or needs converted?
If you have any moms who need sacrificing, email techheads@avwproductions.com.
Or call me at 1-800, I don't need mom. I'm always here.
All right.
Bad person.
Yes.
Another interesting character from Division 2, Shisui, the deputy inspector who gets...
Shisui.
she turns out cool. with the eye patch.
100% brainwashed.
I know, but her eye patch is so neat.
It does look cool, but at the same time, it's like 100% Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, well, it definitely is that.
And drugs.
It is interesting how, like, because one thing I like, we'll talk a bit more about Kamui later, but one thing I like about him is that he's like a very calm villain, and he like talks rationally to people, and he was
does have
like,
a clear point.
He's
like,
very
you can see where he's coming
hypnotic.
from.
yeah, and he uses his like meditation, like specialized drug therapy to like clear people's psychopasses.
I mean, I'd patch things up with him if I saw that.
Yeah, because one thing that I think. Thank
Sorry,
you, Danny.
oh God.
One thing that I think is interesting that this season kind of went into is just like, because in season 1 we focused a lot on like Kogami and Akane, who are like two really strong-willed people, obviously, but like the majority of people in the society are like utterly terrified of their
100%
psychopaths getting
sheep.
clouded,
Yeah,
and
and that
them
applies to
becoming latent
psychopaths.
criminals.
Yeah,
And so the
it's
fact
really
that
like circular. I don't know.
yeah.
Well, it's the whole fear-based thing. If you have a fear-based system, then yeah, you're gonna get your clowns.
Exactly. And Kamui, so if Kamui can actually like permanently clear you, make it so no matter what you do, your psychopath doesn't get clouded, that is like the ultimate like fruit you want to reach for,
So
in this
is it just
society.
the drugs then? That's what does it?
It was drug therapy
And just him
and
speaking to you?
and like meditation,
Okay,
something
yeah.
to that effect.
I never quite got. I'm just pretty sure that was it, but I was never quite clear. They
They-
never just tell you.
They explain it, they say it, they don't ever really show it like
Yeah,
in
okay, that's
detail.
true.
But it was something interesting they went into, because in the very first episode you see that ad for this is the drug that lowers your psychopaths, ha ha ha, and then it's
That can
revealed
only
later
mean bad
that
things.
like makes you like you stop, you don't get as stressed, but it also just eventually makes it so you don't want to live
It's like
anymore.
a complete
Yeah.
depressant.
Exactly. Whereas Kamui like specializes in personally for each person, like doing some combination of drugs that like works for them.
He's a pharmacist beforehand, wasn't he? Like one of his. Well,
They don't really. They don't say he was a pharmacist, but
they-
clearly he got
'cause
training
he has
in
the
that
hollow
regard.
for it. Like, look, maybe that's part of the truth. He might be one of those guys with
Yeah.
medicine.
That was a really
medicine
big twist,
man.
though. Like, I was not
Medicines.
expecting that
Yeah.
whole hollow thing that being as big of a point. I thought they were just going to
Yeah.
be disguises. It's like, no, he's
mean,
actually
obviously-
literally everywhere.
We hear about the plane crash thing. We knew time to that. I didn't realize how much.
Yeah, it was
Yeah. No,
up until
the
we
way they
found out.
the way
it was
they
confusing.
the way that they parse out like the little hints about Kamui's mystery, before it's finally revealed, like they did that well in the show.
Yeah, once
for
you piece it
sure.
together, like once they say, "Wait, check the plane crash records," then you know what's happening. But after, you're right, they've given quite a few episodes of background.
Right. Let's see who we got here. Oh, and one of our favorite characters came back, Sherlock Holmes, aka Jogi
Oh,
Saiga.
yes.
Wait, that's
Poetry guy.
oh
Yes.
my god, I love him. Yeah, no, I
The
was
dude
gonna
with
say
the
that guy's great.
glasses.
He had a lot bigger role this time.
He did, and I'm glad with
I
that.
was wondering what happened to him, and I was so happy to find
Right.
out he wasn't dead.
And he's still just in that prison technically because he's
Well,
still.
but he actually turned himself in over guilt
That's
of
right,
what
yeah,
Kogami
yeah.
did, which is interesting.
And he corrupts other people. He turns them black.
He does, except for Akane.
Yeah,
Because
because
she
she's
is
immune.
best.
Yeah. Interesting, though, that by the end of the series, he decides to go back into the prison because he talks about how he doesn't like being dependent, because like Akane being the only one who could like talk to without, clouding them.
So the one person he could see,
Right.
hang out with.
I don't know. Akane's like best buds with him. She would
Oh,
have
yeah, no,
helped
they're
him
best
out.
friends. Come on. The fact that she is just a goddess at this point, like she can do what she wants because she's just immune. That's why she's the ultimate villain. Other villains, like I'm not villain, excuse me, want to take down Sybil because she is like total justice, is like loyal to them, but still knows things are wrong and is immune to being
Yeah.
clouded.
There are theories online about whether or not she's criminally asymptomatic because we've never seen her psychopaths, go above a
she
certain
goes
level.
to what, 28 to 32. The highest we saw is like 32, I think.
Like, even
Yeah.
when, like, she went through that whole, like, mind thing, like, in the first season, like, they thought she was going to go pretty dark, but she was still fine. And it was, like,
Right.
one of the most stressful. She even, like, threw up because of it.
Right, and even after that, she actually kind of questioned herself, like, "Am I even human?" or something to that effect.
She gets like, what is it? Sherlock Holmes. That's all I can think of her name right now. But he called her a robot. It's like, are you even human? She says that, and she's like, what do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean?
But, I mean,
people?
like, Sybil did, like, they're like, hey, you wanna donate your brain? She's like, no.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Well, she did follow that up by saying, like, "I know you're not that interested in me. Are you just trying to provoke me?" Something to that effect.
Yeah. She's just the best therapist ever.
Akane.
Yeah, if she was a therapist, she could just help everybody.
She would. Well, she had the option to like take any job she wanted,
True.
so she
and
could
she's
have.
like, yeah, I'll just be, an officer. What could go wrong? 2 seasons.
Wait.
later. Yeah, I was gonna say.
All right, then we got this guy. I had to look up his name because I didn't really know it. Tepe Sugo. He's the Division 2 enforcer who
Wasn't
joins.
he the military guy?
He's the guy who used to work at the drone factory.
Oh yeah, the one who recognizes his friends.
Yeah,
He was pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, to the point that I didn't even like realize I had to look up his name. Shows you how much impact he had on the series.
Yeah, he was just there to be there.
He
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah,
he
you know.
was competent.
Didn't he
Unlike
died in that episode
literally
too, right?
everybody else. No, he didn't die.
He didn't. I can't
No,
remember.
he didn't die. He did. He helped with the drone thing because he had worked there before. But the interesting
Right.
thing with him is that he's the one who fired that long-range sniper dominator.
At the end, yeah.
And not unknowingly killed his inspector, Aoyanagi. It was interesting how after that, like, he talked to Gino in the hallway, and she's like, you shot somebody with a high crime coefficient, but just don't talk to me for a while, okay?
Yeah.
Like, you got that Gino was, like, really pissed about that whole situation.
Yeah, Gino was done.
Yeah.
Very much done. We talked about Gino already. Interesting new character we get to meet in this season, Togane. Our,
Claire made a mistake
I
with
made
that
a
one.
mistake.
I
Oh.
like him, and I was like, this is going to go wrong. It turns out to be the worst.
So I was like, I need to pick a character, and I was a little bit hesitant on Hina, and I was like, well, maybe this guy will be like the new Kogami. And
because that's what they were kind of showing in the first
and I was
early
like,
episodes.
you're supportive and you like Akane, so maybe we'll be friends. Maybe we'll be cool. And then we're not cool. We were not cool at all.
And then he killed puppies.
And then he killed puppies.
So it was just like, this is normal. Goes like watching her doing everything. Maybe he's just defending her. Turns out he's a villain. He could still be fine. I want to paint her black. And I was like, nope.
No.
No.
Because
When
I
you say a villain thing like
forgot,
that, his eyes were all red. God.
I forgot the rule of anime is that you can't like people. So, like,
Call nod.
Especially side characters.
especially side characters. But, like, I don't even know why I made this. Everything about him, just looking at him, screamed, "Hi, I'm a villain."
Even his hair was kind of funny.
Like, even his
And
hair was villainous.
In the opening, you see like one of his eyes go red.
I know,
So,
and I was
Hey,
like,
every guy's gonna
maybe-
he's a psychopath.
I was
I
like,
know.
maybe that's just a thing he does. Maybe he's magic.
Maybe
he's
the
a magic
demons.
man.
Maybe he's the demons. But no, I made a horrible mistake.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of liked what they were doing with him at first, with like how he paralleled Kogami, and like out of the enforcers, like one who's like quote unquote
Really competent?
smarter. Like he believed Akane when people first thought that Kamu was a ghost, and like he was doing like investigative reporting, like a actual detective would,
Yeah, and he almost killed Cowboy in the third, fourth episode with a gun. She's like, "Don't shoot."
Yeah, that was the sixth episode.
Sixth, yeah.
But yeah, to the point that like Akane even like sees Kogami and then like flashes back to reality and it's him talking.
Yeah.
So just tying their connection together.
They
And
pressed
then
pretty
he
hard.
was a creep.
But
about
then
it.
yes, he was a stalker
Yeah,
and
because the
wanting
worst
to
character found out he was
paint
the
her
worst.
black.
What? Mika?
Mika.
Yeah, Mika, because she's just the worst.
And yeah, honestly, like I wasn't too shocked when it turned out he was a villain, and
No.
he just after that he kind of becomes a bit of a one-dimensional character. Like he's just, I'm gonna paint her black, and that's all I'm going to do.
And he goes up
'cause
to
I'm
Sherlock. He's like, "You want to paint her black too, right?" And he's like, "I can't."
No, like everything about him is like, "Hi guys, I'm a villain," and everyone's like, "You're not a villain." He's like, "Guys."
He just came back from the villain expo. He's holding like a severed head, and they're like, "Oh, he probably just found that."
He's innocent.
Nice.
He's
I
got
was in such denial.
a mommy complex.
It was the episode after you said that too.
I know, it was the episode after. I was like, I think I'm going to make a decision. I looked at
Finds all
Kenny
the
and I was
photos.
like, I'm going to make a decision. I think I'd like him. I think he's going to be a fun character.
And bad
then the episode with
mistakes.
the pictures came up and I was like, I've
made a
made
few.
a terrible mistake.
He has. Like, the thing is, I like how he had the most stereotypical problem psychologically though, just the mommy problem. Like that, I was like, that's pretty normal for a problem. It was an extreme mommy problem. Don't get me wrong. He had a very special case, but still,
Very
mommy
special.
problems.
All
Yeah,
damn
my
mommy
mom is part of the
problems.
civil system and kind of made me this way. Thanks for
Yeah.
letting me kill puppies.
Well,
Mom.
but of course, then because he's like an artificially made, like criminally asymptomatic person.
With an
but-
800.
But at first, like because he killed the puppy and like nothing changed, and that was like, ooh, this worked. And then he kills his mom because like you can't become part of Sybil. I'm the only one who can own you. And then his like crime coefficient went like
800.
skyrocketing.
That's when, like we've made a mistake.
Who would have thought that this horrible experiment was a bad idea?
Now I just think like people take out their rage by killing I can't remember her name now. The mom, the head of the
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Misaka
She's
She's died
Kogane.
like at least 2 or 3 times now. She just comes back. Like every time they
Oh.
kill her, just a new one
Yeah,
comes
you,
in.
you mean Chief Kase?
Yeah,
then.
Chikasa. Yeah, she just keeps coming back in. Like we've got more models.
Well, they do.
Yeah, no matter how many you kill, we'll just come
I
back.
was so mad when I think it was Makushima. They were actually in the plane in the first,
yeah.
and it blew up, and I was like, "Oh, good, she's gone." And then she
Nope.
comes out, and I'm just like, "Really?"
And then at the end, Cowboy kills her,
Really?
comes back, and then he kills her, comes back. Mom's eternal. Mom's never gonna die.
Probably in like that office, they just have like a closet full of
Yeah.
like extra bodies.
Get out the new one. And the new one just comes in the chair. God.
Guess so.
A line full of moms.
And then, sounds like you guys have some strong opinions on this character, Mika Shimotsky, our new deputy inspector.
I thought she could be redeemed at the end. She got worse. Like, I was like, maybe she'll have an arc. Nope, she's just a pile of poop.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting. Like at the beginning, I was like, okay, she's clearly like butting heads with Akane, and this can make for some good conflict. But I hope she like moves beyond that. But clearly,
every single day she's like, here are all these problems. You should have her gone.
She could have been the Jean of the series, like from Attack on Titan, like a dick but a lovable one. Nope, she just became the worst.
Well, and John like in the second half like becomes like more.
Oh, John's
driven.
so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
She could have done that, and in the end, she almost did. She had a chance to do it. She's
Well,
like, I
but
can save it.
but
No, go back.
but clearly the writers did not intend for her to like go
Be
through a
redeemed.
redemption arc. No, her point was to make her unlikable and to make her the point that she's like this ideal citizen of Sybil kind of thing.
And Sybil's like, we have a new thing to play with, and she's like, I love you, Sybil.
What's interesting though, because the thing I was reading on Tumblr that was like talking about it was, if you remember, she was actually in the original season. She
I
was
was so excited
she
for
was the
her.
girl in the class.
yeah, she was friends with two of the girls
Yeah.
who got killed by crazy artist chick.
When I
in
looked it up, I saw that
Psychopaths
picture
1.
again, and I was like, I forgot about that.
So it's worth noting that like
She was the first
her
series.
friends were killed by latent criminals, brutally and horribly and all that. So it makes
Yeah.
sense that like she hates latent criminals and like is very wary of the enforcers and all that. Like it's not like that is an ungrounded suspicion
But
because
I mean,
of what
she
happened
was
to
there
her.
for a year and a half, and it's like it's her first day
And she
every
saw
single day.
Yeah, and she saw enforcers save her friends' lives too, after or avenge her friends afterwards.
Well, I mean, you saw like her very brief appearance in episode 22 of the original series. Like she came in, and saluted to Akane. I bet you like at first she was like totally like subservient to her, like learning on the job, and then as gaining more experience she started becoming more defiant because she doesn't agree with the way Akane does things, which to be fair, going back to the whole thing we talked about earlier, like how Akane and like Kogami and Ginoza and all of them are like very much not the norm. Like most people are terrified of like clouding their crime coefficient, their hue and all that, and they wanted to do things by the rules, following authority, because that's the society they've been brought up in. The Sybil society, is all about obeying authority.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can we just take a moment and remember back when we were happy? Back when the series ended, like, look, baby Akane, she's going to be so nice. Look how wrong we were.
Yeah.
I was so excited. It's like, oh great, we get a new one. Akane's gonna teach her not to be judgmental, and it's gonna be awesome. And then it didn't happen.
I will say I did like there's that whole arc in the middle of the show where she like, because to be fair, like she is pretty immediately suspicious of Togane, and Akane is like, yeah, whatever, no, he like I trust him, and she finds the pictures, and is like suspicious of him, and like does the research into like the Togane Foundation, and like
She does a good job with
finds
She really does. Like, she's competent
Yes.
as her job, but she's a terrible human being.
But I like that they showed that, because like when like with the whole incident at the medical building, she like refused to go inside, like was waiting for orders, so that like showed her being kind of incompetent. But then like the whole research thing showed that okay, she is competent, and she like found out kind of the truth about Sybil, in like a trap that they had laid for her, and then she gets like told the truth actually by
Mom.
Kase, Chief Kase and everything.
See, I just thought that that was her redemption arc. Like, she's like, I can stop this at the end. She could have like done a lot of stuff to stop it. I thought she was gonna go in and fight what's his face, like weird hair McStalker man.
Togane?
And him, but she didn't, and that's why I had hope for him. Like,
Well, I mean,
maybe I can kind of like you.
She was posed to like kill him at one point, but then she did it, and
Which
he
is
like,
good.
but he died like immediately afterwards.
Yes, he's
so
still dying,
it didn't
so.
really matter.
Quit killing him. He's trying to die.
Let me die in peace.
And they're like they tried to redeem her at the end. It's like, I'll never forgive the person who hurt Akane, and then she's like, I won't either. Like,
Well,
I regret my actions because I'm trash.
I don't know. I mean, I thought that almost, because Yayoi is like the one enforcer that she
I
really
love
does
her.
care about, and I
Confirmed
thought
girlfriends.
that kind of showed, like, I feel like Yayoi knows Mika well enough to know that like something weird's been going on with her recently,
Yeah.
and that comment was kind of like a probing thing
Yeah.
for her. So if Yayoi ever actually finds out the truth about that whole incident, that's probably gonna ruin their friendship.
More than likely.
But it is interesting because we talk about how Mika is like the ideal citizen and all of that, and like how she went along with what Sybil was saying. But like as she was saying, like, I love the society, I love Sybil, she's like crying and like has this really wide, like distraught eyes. So it's
I
clearly
thought
like
she was definitely faking it, and they were just gonna kill her.
yeah, it seemed like she's like horrified by learning the truth about the system, but once again, like she is so bound by like the authority and the fear thing, fear of them because if she doesn't like obey them, they're gonna kill her, you know,
Yeah,
or
that's
it's
true.
gonna cloud her psychopaths or all of that. So it's like she's just basically being bullied by them into cooperating. You know,
True, and she is being manipulated in that respect, but she also put herself in that position. She could have fought against it.
she did. Well, I mean, what she got herself in that situation because she was doing a good thing, like researching the Togane Foundation.
And she could have kept going.
Of course, she also turned that into a, this is my big report about this. Also, Akane should be disbanded
Yeah.
because of these reasons.
Fired. Like, here's all the stuff I did, and still the worst. And then the mom's like, yes.
Or if she would have
Yes.
gone to Akane with all this information, like that would have been awesome.
But she doesn't
But she
even.
was so skeptical.
She doesn't know that Akane knows about Sybil, though.
True.
So she.
But still, I mean, like with like just the research about Togane Foundation, like all about that and like how it related to Kirito.
Well,
and-
I agree that she probably should have mentioned that. Look, my guess is that she was going to include that in her report to Chief Kase first because I was like trying to get Akane, you know, taken care of because like she did put in a way like she needs to be like fired or at least like suspended, you know, to like rehabilitate her or something. Like it's not that she like hates Akane like as a person, but she just is so like backwards in her thinking that she
think
thinks
she actually
that the way Akane does things is like absolutely not the way things should be done.
Yeah.
and I quote, "I hope her psychopath gets clouded."
She feels kind of bad about it later.
Yeah, but then she still thought it. That's the thing.
Well, one thing I like about the series that makes me laugh when I think about it is how Akane, like, at any point if Sybil makes her mad, she's like, I'll show someone where you live. I brought 2 people where you live now. I know where you live. Like, she could just take someone there and be like, I'll come there again. Don't think I won't.
I know where you sleep.
Because that's one thing I thought was funny. I'm like, no, she knows exactly where they are. Like when
Kamui.
Kamui was wandering, she's like, I'll take you there. And he was like,
Yeah,
neat.
it's kind of funny. Like the whole thing was like this convoluted plan, so he could like forcibly learn like the location of Sybil. And she's
then-
like, "Dude, you could have just asked, man."
Yeah, bro, I got your back. And he's like, neat.
Cool, bro.
But no, like Henry and I, when we first found out Kamui's like first name, were like Kirito.
Yeah.
This explains
Yeah.
everything.
Basically, Kirito was
Everything
like-
is sword art.
I
Occasionally,
really thought the world was going to fizzle out. And I was like,
occasionally they call him Kirito instead of Kamui, and I always kind of laugh.
did you hear Tristan start like vomiting in the other room?
Well, he wasn't watching Psychopaths
Thank
with me,
goodness.
so
I was going to
no.
say.
But then diving in her main character, Akane.
My
you know,
girl.
We talked about her a lot, but gosh, she's the
Yes,
best.
we have. You know, the nice thing about this season compared to last season is that now we get to see her in like the lead role as like the senior inspector, and she's
Oh, she deserves
coming to
it.
her own. You know,
In like really
as
terrible
maturity.
situations, and she's still on top. And my girl, number
Well,
one.
See, we had the coming to age kind of thing in the first one. Now it's just full BA mode, and I love it.
Right, but
She takes down robots.
but she still has like challenges. Like I like the whole thing where like she smokes the cigarettes, like reminder of Kogami. Like you get kind of that feeling that like
Does she actually
she-
smoke them, or does she just leave them?
no,
to burn?
you're right. She
the
leaves
secondhand
them.
smoke.
Yeah, she leaves them burning, and she like wants the smoke to like stick on her clothes.
Yeah, because the machine's like, remember, secondhand smoke's bad. And she's like, quiet.
Shut up.
And
But
then she
I
finds
think
the
that's just interesting because that gets into the whole thing
Where
of
is she?
how much she really did kind of love Kogami, you know, and how much she misses him.
They
Maybe in the
were
movie-
in love.
they didn't kiss, right?
No.
In the
No.
movie, they will kiss.
Now kiss.
It's going to happen.
Another Clara catchphrase. And also interesting, you know, the whole thing about Togane painting her black, you know, killing her grandma later in the series.
All right.
Yeah, that
First
was
of all,
messed up.
that's not okay. Second of all, who the hell do you think you are?
Oh my god, Clara, you quoted
No,
it. Oh
no,
my god. I know.
what I
Earlier I was
meant.
going to say, if they had a little more Gurren Lagann in the series, it'd be so much easier. Like, oh, you killed my grandma? Grrr, just drill through his chest.
Like,
Imagine-
it wasn't even okay.
Imagine her yelling Giga Drill Breaker. Akane. Imagine
Find
that.
because she's voiced by Japanese voice actress Kana Hanazawa, who's one of my favorites.
Giga Drill Psychopath. Or no, Dominator! There we go.
Dominator.
God.
Oh, but anyways, no, yeah.
The
that
drill
was
pops
messed up.
out of the Dominator. That's clearly what needs
Guys,
to happen.
we're making this cat. Can we do it?
No. No.
But I mean, I like the fact that like Akane doesn't just shrug it off. You know, like it definitely affects
Oh, no.
her.
I thought she would get clouded.
And there was the one point where she was
I
like,
wanted to see her. I wanted to see her go for blood. Like, you know,
But
held
see,
her back.
but that would
it was
defeat
so
the whole
cute, 'cause, like,
purpose.
okay, so I don't know. Like, I pick up on little tiny things that I just think are adorable. And when she was lunging at that guy, he just wraps his entire arm around her. She's so tiny, and it's so cute. Just Gino. She's so little compared to everyone else.
Yeah, well, I also think like
But she
I might
keeps
be wrong in
chasing
this,
her.
but I could swear that like early in Psychopath season 1, they drew her eyes like bigger, and now they've become a little smaller now because she's like less innocent and all that.
That makes sense. I mean, one thing I like about her though is they show how competent she is. Like, she rarely gets beaten. Like, in the first season, obviously, yes, but this moment, even when God, I just forgot Mick Stalker's name again.
Togame.
When he tries to attack her at the end, it just cuffs him easily.
Oh,
she takes him down in
takes
like
him
10 seconds, not
down.
even.
Yeah.
He gets not a single hit in her, and she's like, "Yes, sorry,"
Yeah.
and then just cuffs him.
reminds you,
Hands
hey, I'm like a police officer.
And I'm better than you, so
By
stop.
the way,
You know, we've seen Kogami and Togane practicing against like that machine, like
Yeah.
punchy thing, but
he
clearly,
did so well against it.
clearly she's doing it too, and we just don't
When
see
no one
it.
else is there, she's on level like 9. Everyone else is on 6.
Like
I can believe it.
my true power level.
and she's just jogging not to make him look bad.
You know, because she is, from what we've seen so far, one of the best when it comes to just fighting. She doesn't fight often because she doesn't like to, but she's one of the most capable people there.
Yeah, well, yeah, and like you know, I mean, if she fought against Kogami, like she would lose. Like
Well,
she's not at that
Kogami,
level.
He is the spike
Why
of the
would they
series.
ever fight?
right.
Oh.
Well,
Don't do this to me.
I've heard things about the movie.
Don't do it. Alex, don't you say another word.
Oh, is he part of the terrorist plot to take down Sybil?
I don't know honestly, but it could be. The
It's
one
gonna
thing we see
happen.
of him in the trailer is like he's in like brown clothes, so he looks like a fugitive of some sort.
Guys,
Just
are you
saying.
feeling a fad?
It's
Are you like waiting for a sad anime song about them fighting? Like, you know, the moment where the sad star starts playing, like the cherry blossoms go by, they're standing in a field, and he's like, I don't want to do this.
So we're gonna go do Pokemon, brother.
I was
my
thinking the
brother.
Yu-Gi-Oh one where it's like, it's like the same song. You ever heard the brother song in Yu-Gi-Oh?
The one with Joey and Yugi.
Yeah, when Joey.
Oh my God!
They're
yes.
actually in love.
God, no, my friend and I were watching it.
That
Yeah, that's a
episode.
tangent, but I love that song. Oh my God, I had the music to duel by, the CD, and every time we dueled, we put it on, and we were like crying as we dueled each other. If they played those overlaid, but in like G minor,
G minor.
so
God.
it's like brother,
Make it really creepy.
spooky.
Okay, and then our last
Spooky.
major character talk about our new villain, Kamui.
I like him,
I do like him.
I like him. He was really creepy until I found out his past. But then
which
he
makes
was-
sense.
But then I felt he was pretty justified.
I think being a 184 composite man is pretty creepy in
it
its
is,
own right.
but I understand where he's coming
Frankenstein's
from.
monster.
yeah.
I like Frankenstein.
Well,
though.
it's interesting because,
he's
like,
good.
once again, compared to Makishima from last season, he's not as good as Makishima
Oh, no
was.
way.
But Makishima is like one of my favorite villains, like in all of
Shonen
anime.
man.
But see,
yes.
Makishima was just neutral evil.
Yeah,
Like
but-
he was just doing his own thing.
The thing is, I agree. I like Bushono Man. He was great. He's a great villain. But I actually agreed with what I agree with both of them were doing, but more with Kamui because he had more of a reason to do this, 100%. Because he was forced to do this beyond his will. People die because of the civil system, and he was wrong due to this company.
Yeah, and that's something I liked about Kamui. Like I said earlier, he talks very like calm and rationally most of the time, and he I liked it in his whole plan in the subway. He says specifically to his people like, go after the people who might peak over 300 first. Because they're just stunning them with the dominators at that point. He's like, he doesn't want to kill innocents if he doesn't have to.
Only
kind
the
of
Right.
enforcers
thing.
to get their dominators.
Right.
Or, I mean, yeah, enforcers.
You know, and like there's all those people who die at the medical facility too.
Yeah, but
so
that was just
That was him
all
luring them
right.
out, and then the actual officers killed them, right?
well, the officers killed them, but I mean, clearly Kirito knew that was going to happen.
Oh,
But
yeah,
see,
no.
okay, like what officer like sees a bunch of naked people running out, going, "Help! We are hostages," and go, "Yeah, let's kill these guys."
The civil system says so.
Yes, but
well,
I mean,
that
like,
gets into the whole thing from season 1 about how
Ugh.
even if you're the victim, your psychopaths will rise.
Yes, but
Yep.
why can't they just be like, "Oh, come here. Here's a blanket. Let's go talk about this in our truck and take you somewhere safe." It's
Because
like,
panic.
no, let's kill them.
Do you think that, like, 1984,
kill
like,
them.
the government and that Big Brother's just weeping, like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what little we've seen of Division 3, they seem to be pretty
So incompetent.
not like in,
They are
because
more
they're
militaristic.
they're brutally competent. Actually,
Yeah.
they are more like militaristic. They just follow the chief's orders,
They don't
like no matter
question
what they
anything.
are.
They're like what I think the ideal for them, at least the ideal enforcer inspector team is, because they're just kill, leave. Like that's
90% of all their problems are themselves, though.
Yep, and most of them die. So
Yeah, most of them actually die, and
'cause
I
what,
don't
only one
care.
and two survive. Really, 3 got pretty much slaughtered. Or is that reverse?
Yeah, 3 got hit
'Cause
pretty hard
the
in
drone episode,
in
they
the
just
drone
get
episode.
destroyed.
Yeah.
Everyone got dead.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Kamui's whole thing was definitely interesting. You know, like I said, how they revealed the mystery of him. I will say the whole idea of like how he's 184 people combined, like of different parts, and that makes him like invisible
pretty
to the
far-fetched.
system.
I mean-
system. It's a bit of a stretch. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
because
Like
I mean,
this-
you're still a people.
Yeah, no, this one's based more on reality than most animes. Still, you have to stretch your imagination a bit, but I imagine this one more realistic. So I still think it's hammy, and that's why I like it, because I love hammy weird things. But that was definitely really, really out of the ordinary for this series, which I liked. But it, theoretically speaking, I do not think that would work. But it's a cool idea because they do have the technology to do
I feel
stuff like
just
that.
because like it worked because nothing like that had ever happened
The
before.
brain thing doesn't make any sense, though. Like, you can't just piece together brains. It's
Yeah,
how
that's
humans
not how that
work.
works.
But it worked with them. And it did say
Yeah.
it's a 1% chance, pretty much, of working. So it was a miracle. He did, like,
it,
illustrate
it
that.
was a miracle. I guess it's just weird because like the psychopath system like reads your like brain and everything to like decide like
Why
what
would
your
it recognize
psychopath
different
is.
brains? That's the thing.
Right. So if it's like a working brain, then does it really recognize him as like
guess
184 people?
You register your brain. It sounds weird, but maybe the Sybil system, that's how they know you are. Register your brain, so it registers 184 brains. Because they're technically part of the
They
actually,
brain.
can't
it-
scan more
also-
than one person, so.
It was
what I'm
only 7 brains.
I'm sorry, 7.
Seven
yeah.
brains, but
No,
it was
not
like
184.
other pieces.
But
That's still something
were the
they've
other
never done
people.
before.
The thing is, like, I can only guess that you have to register your brain. Because otherwise, like, how else would know there's different parts? It wouldn't matter. You're just an organism still. He's still, I mean, I guess he does have split personality syndrome. So,
Well,
because of the
it's
brain.
interesting with that because like for the most part, like Kamui is a very like calm like character who doesn't like emote too much,
But at
But
the
then
end, he
but then
shows-
at the last episode, they did something pretty cool where like you saw the different personalities and the different
He's
hollows.
an angry big guy, the one's always yelling.
Destroy Sybil! Yeah, so I was kind of like wondering about that, like if it would have been cool if they had integrated that earlier, because on the one hand that might have made him more memorable earlier in the show,
Yeah.
but at the same time I feel like that could have gotten old if they had like used it too
Yeah.
much. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I like what they did with it. Like, it had the impact it needed to for me. Like, especially, like, when... one of my favorite things is when people, like, are on one side of the screen and then someone passes by and then they change. Like, that's one of my favorite things any show, movie ever does, because it's just like, whoa, it shifted. And it's just a cool little transition. So I really liked it, and you got to actually see, like, how he felt outside of that just cool, calm exterior.
Yeah.
Like, he had all these emotions that we only saw carried out through, like, other people. And, like, finally we got to see his unadulterated emotions.
It was
And he was more sympathetic for me.
it's interesting to compare him to Makishima because both of them kind of have a similar reason for what, like, Kamui's is definitely different, but like implicitly it was both like, we are not recognized by the system, we have no place in this world, so we're going to force the
Let's
system
break it.
to like, we're going to tear down this, we're going to change the system because we are not recognized by
Cowboy had
it.
the almost better idea of making it test itself. So even if he didn't win, he'd still change everything that the world is. He hoped.
Right. That was the idea for him, and also combination of that and then getting revenge for the season of hell and
Yeah.
all
So,
those who died.
Question though, for the movie, are they actually... They're using this as canon, obviously, but are they planning around using some of the characters from this, or is it still just basically strictly first?
If you look at the trailer for the movie, Mika's in it.
Okay.
What's his name? Tepe Sugo is in it. Because he's part of Division 1 now
Okay, that
because
was
they
wondering.
got
That makes-
moved.
so they did
Yeah.
plan this before.
So yeah, no, this is going on. There is some debate about like how much Psychopaths 2 changed overall about the series, because like at the end, the whole omnipotence paradox thing, does change Sybil, and they say that they're going to adopt a group collective psychopaths thing, but it's something that will happen in the near future. It's not like immediate.
40 years later.
So like, as of right now, like Sybil is pretty much the same as it was. It's just lost some brains
yeah.
and is going to change in the
Just
future.
liquidated some brains. Like,
That
we
was
cleaned the
actually really
problem.
cool. They're like, yeah, we're going to get rid of these problems.
At least
and
it improved quotation marks.
yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
a
fun
point.
fact, you know what Sybil came from? Like the name etymology?
I don't.
I thought something else. Like I read it wrong, but it's a woman in ancient times supposed to utter the oracles and prophecies of a god. A woman able to foretell the future. Sybil.
I see. See, I would think of that as like oracle is another word for that.
Yeah, it's an oracle. So that's what the original word. So fun fact, Sybil
Soothsayer.
system is oracle system.
An oracle system.
Oh.
That's a good name too.
But like
Yeah.
when they were talking about like the whole like thing that came with Season of Hell, like the predicting crimes before they happened thing, I was like so Winter Soldier.
Or
But
Minority
Whoops.
Report.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like there's no way you could actually do that. Like just how a brain works. Like you can predict when people would be unstable, but you can never 100 predict. And there's like people knowing that that's going on is just going to make them really nervous all the time. It's just this giant loop of this won't work.
So that makes me think though, in that universe of anime exists, you couldn't watch Clannad without dying.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
you'd be
would
so off the
actually be a
charts,
latent
just
criminal because
latent
I'm
criminal.
so emotional.
What do you need it for? I watch Clannad. You poor man.
Yes.
Stun him.
You've been too distressed.
Especially because like our people our age right now have the same stress levels as people in like psychiatric hospitals in the 60s. So I think we would all be pretty darn high.
Sybil would have weeded us out by now, so we wouldn't be here.
Hey.
That's a nice thought.
Yeah, but then we went into the whole thing in season 1 about like the stress like makes you live longer and all that sort of thing.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, don't you remember that? That was the whole thing with the
Oh, no,
cyborg
I knew
guy.
that. I thought in real life, it was like stress makes you live longer. That's the opposite.
Yeah. Well, but it's the whole idea of like if you have like a zero stress life, then it actually like robs of
That's
the
true.
joy of living
Yeah, okay.
a little bit.
But I was gonna say, how long has Sybil been in place again? Because like, how was Akane ever? She was born after it was already in place, right?
She was born after it was already in place. Like Pops was alive before the
Yeah,
civil
that's right. He
system,
talked
so
about
it
being an
hasn't
old
been
actual detective.
hasn't been like more than like a generation.
Yeah, so it's
you
still
know.
new, kind of.
Yeah, relatively speaking, it's
Yeah.
definitely new.
Speaking of his character, though, long story short, I love the fact they did all the shifting personalities. That was really cool at the end. They should have done it more, though.
So you think they should have done it more?
Well, they did play. He did play different roles in the series when he's in different Hollow outfits. He did kind of act like different people, but you never really saw him say much, so it didn't really count.
Right.
Because he was the pharmacist at one point, and a few other things. But that at the ending really showed a lot more about his character. I wish we would have seen
Oh,
earlier.
and I remember you brought up the season of hell thing. I kind of like how certain things dovetailed from that. Like in the 10th episode when Kamui flooded the place where the subways were, and that like made it so they couldn't escape, and like the Ministry of like Welfare or whatever was trying to drain the water out, but they weren't doing it well, and Chief Kase was like, "Oh, we might have hit them too hard with like budget cuts after Season of Hell because like they tried to supplant us."
They
kind
weren't
of
flooded
thing.
with cash.
Thank you, Kenny.
Hey.
All right, so we've gone through the characters, so we could just kind of just dive more into like some of the plot-related things that.
Real quick, there's
go
a thing
on.
I was a little bit confused about. I think it was episode 9 or 10 when like the building was on fire.
Oh right.
Were there people in the animals? Like, what was that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Were there actually like living?
That was some 5 Nights at
what?
Freddy's stuff.
That was. Were they animatronics? Like, what was that?
I don't-
Like,
I mean, there were people in the animals. I don't know if that like were those there like all the time in that mansion, or was it like a thing where like that guy just put the people who had died that they just
the
killed.
way he
like,
inclined
in
it, well, they were
there.
still screaming, weren't they? Even the dead people, they look still alive.
Because what I heard was like, I think what he said was like, oh, everyone who's burning in there are illegal immigrants who want to like repent or something like that, and like they want to go back to their roots.
Oh, that's
So I wasn't sure if they were still alive or not.
Either way, I
'cause
think
it
he
was
mutilated
really messed up. Just
Yeah, that's the darkest part of the series, honestly.
was
With
the
actual
darkest
gore,
thing
that
I've
was,
seen
like,
in a
the
long
worst.
And,
time.
well, and one thing I will say about Psychopaths 2, one of my kind of issues with it, is I feel like because Psychopaths has always been a dark series, obviously like bloody and all those things, but I felt like this time around they kind of went a little overboard, like trying to be, if we do even more deaths and blood and gore, then that makes it better, right?
Haha.
Because we had like 3 really big dark events, like the massacre at the medical place, the massacre with the drones, and then that scene at the mansion. I feel like having all 3 of those within 11 episodes was like too much.
And it painted different people. It had innocents dying, foreigners dying, and then the inspectors and enforcers dying. So there's all 3 different examples of what the system is broken,
Yeah.
how it's broken.
like the medical facility, like that actually shocked me because I didn't think they were gonna open fire on civilians,
Sybil.
especially when they're like absolutely hysterical, crying, like having these horrible times. Like, only solution here is to kill them, obviously. So like that just shocked me. Like just Division 3 existing in general.
Yeah, but once again, back in episode 1, Kogami was totally going to shoot that victim girl who went above 300, on her Psychopaths that would have killed her.
Right.
But
So
this
that's
was,
how things are done.
This is before.
See, what I
This
don't
is
get though
before.
is why Dominator's so gory. If I was really going to kill somebody, unless they don't want to mess with the bodies afterwards, that bloodstain is still horrendous to clean up. Why isn't it just a complete body neuralization? Like, you shut them down, just kills them.
Yeah.
It's cooler.
I know, but what the balls?
Why does it have to explode? Like,
know.
what makes it explode?
looks
Bodies
awesome.
don't do that.
It mutates your, cells until they explode.
I
I think it just
guess.
removes your cell walls, and you're just,
Honestly, I
beast.
feel like that's one where we supplant logic within the show for this is a cool anime thing. Let's do it.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, it looks badass. Don't get me
Akira
wrong.
style blood explosions, perhaps.
Babies, giant
But then
babies.
sometimes it only blows off their arms. So
yeah, you have to.
is it just plot convenient?
Usually it's a headshot, and that's what kills them. If a headshot or torso shot, they explode just a limb. It's just a limb.
Yeah, because you see it it goes into whatever it hits, and then that thing expands and blows up. So if you just hit the arm, it's separate enough that your entire body won't
I guess so.
explode. I guess.
It's something vital.
Ah.
If you just miss, you just maim.
Yeah. I will say, talking about Tatsunoko again, the company that did the animation this time around. Trying to steal my paper, Kenny?
No.
Okay. overall, I mean, I think they did a good job. They don't have the production shine of IG, but they still did a good job.
No, it's really
there
nice.
There were a couple times though where I could tell like, okay, that looks a little funny. The one that sticks out to me is in episode 4 when killer guy in the medical place is like killing people. There was a scene where like a random dude like grabbed him, was like trying to stop him, and they just shook him in like this way that was like really like not animated well, and it's just like moving back and forth like a piece of cardboard.
That and has that overhead shot of the building like 12 times.
Yeah, they repeated that a lot.
Yeah. So like there was like it's not the best looking show in the world, you know, but it doesn't look bad either.
First season was.
Well, I honestly like Psycho-Pass looks really good animation wise, like except for the occasional like Kogami Makishima fight scenes. There isn't that much animation in it, like fluidity of movement. You know, because apparently, like, the director of the show apologized for, like, episode 19 or something because, like, the key animation that was, like, behind schedule and it didn't turn out as good.
Oh, no.
Something like that. So there's a whole thing there. But, I don't know. I guess we've talked about it a bit already, but definitely I would think a standout scene from the season was episode 4, the whole thing within the medical facility. You know, some of Kirito's followers, Kamui's followers, have, like, legitimate points to them. And this guy's whole thing about how, like, you know, the drugs make you want to give up on life, but Kamui saved me thing, like, that was interesting. But then this whole thing is like, I'm going to save you by killing you.
Yeah.
Kind of ruined whatever point
insane.
you might have had.
I'm going to teach the system it's bad by killing you guys instead.
But and once again, I really liked what they did with Aoyanagi, the inspector chick, and that led to a pretty cool scene with her where she was like, I'm an inspector and I'm going to enforce justice, as she has like the blood on her face and she was going to like kill the guy.
Justice.
Yeah.
And then die.
And then gets blasted by the admittedly cool Dominator rifle thingy.
Oh, that rifle is freaking BA.
It was pretty darn cool.
I'm waiting for the bazooka, the Dominator bazooka. I hope he's gonna have
behind
them.
that. Well, that's kind of what the destroyer pistols are. I know I remember some people online being upset because when we get to the drone arc, they talk about how you can only fire like 3 of them, like the destroyer mode thing.
That's kind of weird that they've limited it to 3.
Honestly, I wasn't bothered by it because like it makes sense that like these things can't have infinite energy.
No.
Like they must have ammo.
I mean, I expected more than 3 though, like 5. That's a normal clip.
I guess, but like that's
it is
like
a lot of energy though.
Yeah, that's the destroyer mode. Like it seems like the normal
Stun
just
mode.
stun or even kill mode for like a human like doesn't take up that much energy, but destroyer mode
Oh,
clearly.
I forgot it's different than kill. I was thinking of kill mode.
Yeah.
See, my question is, why don't they have those in Star Trek? They had stun and kill. Why do they have giant phazon like Bloom Blooms?
I don't know. You'll have to talk to what's
Gene Roddenberry?
Yeah, Roddenberry. Let's go ask him. Oh wait, he's dead.
Wow, Alex. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Whoa, sorry everybody.
Oh my god. I did kind of like how they had the very obvious Angry Birds reference with Hungry Chicken, I think it was called.
Yeah, no, it was like it's just making fun of every app game, but yeah, it was very, very Angry Birds like.
Very Angry Birds.
That was messed up though. The kid's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna hunt him down, and one's like, I'm not gonna let him leave, and I'm like, is that what we're like when we play games? Yeah. It is. When I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
And then there's that.
Pretty accurate.
That
The one kid who enjoyed it.
Yeah, that butts.
Yeah, he sees that
Butt
girl in the corner, he's
wagging.
like, I'm gonna tase him, and then they run
It's
in.
like
Some
video
people are
games should
actually
all be
whores.
this real, and they're like, no.
Stab.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
did think that brought up something interesting. They went to like the whole how do you judge people if they don't know what they've done kind of thing.
Some people are into that, like that kid, and he's also a butt. So
Well, he was also a butt, you know.
the other kids were like vomiting and freaking out, but obviously they had what is it? He said it was like psychopath pollution because like that the entire area
Right,
had
right.
psychopaths.
Yeah. I
So
forget
another
what
hole in
that's
the
called.
system.
Yeah.
And then Mika does not stop complaining.
Well,
Jesus Lord.
But like in that case, she's like, it's reasonable for her to complain because it is like, well, by showing them like the dead bodies on the
You're
iPhones,
guaranteeing they're gonna freak out.
yeah, that they are going to freak out. Like we're gonna have to deal with all these problems. Like the next episode, they're going from house to house, like dealing with all this
they
stuff.
They didn't have enough time to stop it because more people would have been hurt. Like that was the fastest
Yeah,
solution, but
like,
by no means the best.
It was the right solution given the situation, but it still
Yeah.
was a crappy solution.
If they could have just shut them down a little bit better, but they said more time. There's no way they could have done it.
exactly. And
she just never, like, even later, she just does not stop complaining about everything she has to do. And I'm like, hey, sorry, it's your job.
What you signed up for this?
yeah, I mean she's definitely a complainer.
Yeah, and that's why we don't like her. Again, I don't think if I didn't say in the podcast
Like-
already, I looked up and
like-
on like multiple top 10 lists, she's been the least favorite anime.
I don't like her. I don't hate her like as much as some other fans who like think she's like the worst thing to ever happen. because she does have like some legitimate points, and clearly like isn't really okay with the simple system, is just going along with it, with the whole fear authority thing.
Satan has legitimate points sometimes. Doesn't make him a good guy.
Well, it depends what type of Satan we're talking about. Because if there's like the guy with red horns, then he's like usually portrayed as like really stupidly
Have you
evil.
ever seen The Devil's a Part-Timer? He's a great guy in that show. I've actually seen most of that show.
That's a good show, actually.
It's actually really good.
I've seen all of it.
I haven't seen all of it yet. Sorry.
It's pretty funny.
But yeah.
I do feel like this is one of those things with like the whole grimdark thing. Like we're just killing off a bunch of enforcers and inspectors you don't know and don't really care about.
When the new guy came in, I'm like, he's dead. He's faceless. He looks too average. He's dead. Like,
Well,
he's
he
like,
had
I'm
that
going
weird,
keep
like,
on.
sort of mullet thing.
Yeah, he came in
And
like
that weird shark smile.
he was too excited and too creepy to not die and died to me. He went like lone wolf. They're like, we can't go alone. He's like, I'm going to save the day. And I'm like, you're so dead, kid. Have you ever seen an
100%
action
dead.
film?
Very dead. We did kind of Akane did kind of get her action movie moment where she like grabbed like the crane.
Oh my gosh,
to
that was
like run
awesome.
away from
My
the
girl.
explosion.
Just nope.
Like it was
man.
it was an unpsychopathish moment because it was so like action movie-ish, but it was still cool, so I didn't really care.
That's some flashy scenes were really cool. Like watching all them get destroyed by the other Gatling gun, all the drone things. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Because they used like, a ballistic weapon. Like what? Not a Dominator. Like
Yeah.
no, we're getting the real deal.
And then at the end of episode 6 was where she confronted Cowboy on the boat and like had the actual gun, but like couldn't shoot it, and stopped Togane from shooting him.
Yeah, because he's about to just snipe him. Imagine all the problems that would have been caused and solved if he killed him then. I thought he was going to. I was like, what if this happens?
Yeah, well, we're
I
only
thought,
halfway
like,
through,
maybe,
so.
what's her face? Shisui was gonna, like, go in front of him.
Well, she
and
kind of
take it,
was
but-
already in front of him.
She was so blindly loyal. It was incredible.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
at first she
that
was
was
like,
a pretty big 180 there.
She was
but-
convinced very quickly, but again, with a cool eye patch,
Eye
eye patch, I would be like, all right, that's cool.
I don't know exactly how long she was also down there, and it,
It
was
was a couple
probably a
weeks.
lot of drugs and a lot of Stockholm
And a
syndrome.
crossbow.
Yeah.
She did
like,
have an actual crossbow, which is hilarious to me.
Like, I actually really do like that scene. I think it was episode 3 where, like, the Dominator was, like, pointed at her, and she saw her eye, and, like, he, like, did that weird thing in her mouth and all that. Like, it was creepy.
That was
Drugs.
weird.
and weird, but it was like our first scene of like really extensive scene with Kamui, and I do agree, like she's a little like we don't get why she's like this devoted beyond the fact that he cleared her psychopath, and clearly that's like
It
a
was
good thing.
definitely some mental manipulation magic.
Mental manipulation magic.
Yeah, because he was like, oh, you work for me now, and then he
But
guessed her.
I also like that
Yeah, he actually kind of did Gios.
Yes.
obey me subjects, obey me world. But a lot like
Shout out.
with like the medical guy which we talked about already, like he was clearly like just crazy. But then
Yeah.
like the doctor
Totes cray.
the doctor guy and the guy who owned the mansion, like they were evil, but they were also like they weren't raving lunatics. Like when
The mansion guy did have people strewn about on pigs and stuff.
I know he did, but like when they
That's messed up.
when they talked to him, he was like calm and like rational and everything, and like
But Hannibal Lecter's calm and rational.
I mean you're right,
He
he's
is.
still
That guy
crazy,
was a
but
little
like
more insane than
but
most.
they like I could just kind of like how they all like really believed in Kamui's cause
Yeah.
and everything.
Which they never had somebody betray him, and they even the one thing that got me to is the doctor who was following with him still told him all the information because Kamui didn't want to hide that. He wanted to give his actual past and why he's doing things. He was showing them why he was right in his mind.
because he's like he wrote what color on Akane's wall back in episode 1.
Do you think
or
it means
2.
waste closet or no? What is it? Wash
Wa-
closet? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, it's definitely a bathroom.
100% Gino.
Way to be.
Dino's like bathroom.
Oh yeah, and
I was confused about why it was like English.
because
but-
English.
Because if it was Japanese, it'd be like naniro or nani-iro, depending.
Yeah, that was actually in the original one. Yeah, that nobody
But
was
then,
watching it. Yeah.
watokala,
Yeah,
wshi.
because
the
they
amount of
like.
English was perfect in this show too. I
But
judge
the-
anime by its English.
But there was no spooky boogie. I was hoping.
Unfortunately.
Well, that's because it's so good. Why would you want to run out of a good joke? It was perfect for where it was. God, it's
guess
so good.
so.
Spooky.
I just
Well, technically, like
Gosh dang it.
she's like 100% dead, and then the guy who's controlling the new one is also dead. So
Yeah, they didn't go
there
to the
is
internet all this
actually
time.
no more spooky booky.
don't say that.
Yeah.
Someone else inherited the account.
They didn't use the
He
internet,
lives
though.
on.
I was so excited that she's gonna go to the cyberspace again, but she did get to talk to her jellyfish thing like once.
I want
and she had
that.
a wash closet. So.
Yeah, that whole thing is cool. There was just a scene I liked visually. I think it was at like episode 7. There was that whole thing with like the what color WC was like in like weird digital like letters were floating around her in like the space,
That
and
was
then
really
and then
cool.
she saw like Kogami appeared behind her, and she was like interrogating with him inside her mind
She
and
fucking
everything.
went- and he's the one who got her back into shape after grandma passed. Like he was one who's like,
Yeah,
come on, dude.
that,
See,
like, when they did that was cool
It was the comedy
it was the
moment.
way to get Kogami back in the show without him actually being back.
so can you run his name by me again? Like what's his name?
Kogami?
Kogami. I heard Kamina. Because remember when Kamina punched him in the face?
I do remember coming
Grit
up
your
punching him in the
teeth.
face.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's that moment. Grit your teeth and get out there, and she does.
Thankfully, he
She's
didn't
so
actually
good.
punch her because that would have
Yeah.
been awkward.
It was a mental. Hey,
They're
get up there.
so in love.
Oh, it's
Ugh.
incredible. Once they see each other, they're gonna kiss, or she's gonna be angry, and then it's gonna be cool.
They're just
Yeah,
gonna probably
there's gonna
stare
be
at each
anger
other and
first.
just do nothing.
They'll have like the eye makeout thing where they're just like doing the eyebrows. I can see it. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, and I did think it was interesting too, talking about like because the whole thing with like Sybil at the end, like they purge like the brains that like are ruining their crime coefficient, all that,
Immediately.
and it kind of shows that like because like Misako Togane like clearly started like deviating from like the will of the collective of
Yeah,
Sybil,
like-
getting personally involved, like trying to stop Akane and all that.
Sybil's such a bad system. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the point. It's an awful system. It's good in principle, kind of like socialism, but can never just work. And that's why, like, no matter, it's kind of like having like a giant demon killing you. It's like, oh, sorry, let me take out the bad bits. They take out like the claws and the horns, but it's still a demon. Doesn't mean it can
Yeah.
hurt you now, but it'll just do it again later.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that showed like that even though these people are all criminally asymptomatic, they're all individual people still, and they will not all like agree. So it seems like clearly like whoever was like they came to like a majority rule amongst the Sybil brains, and anybody who was in the minority got wiped.
That's it. We don't know that though. They could have just wiped out the things that were the dissenters saying we should do this scan. They could have just taken out the ones that complained, and they're all still the awful ones.
I mean, it could be.
And that's
Did
what the
you
movie's
think
about
it's
because it's
like-
been 4 years.
Cause what's her name? The Togane lady mom.
Yeah,
Mom
Misako
Togane. Yeah.
That's
Togane.
Like she was in control for a while and then like had Akane's license like revoked and like why didn't the rest of brains go, no,
Well,
we don't agree on that.
well-
Like she had control, I
Well,
guess.
she always consults him first. She stops for a second, then goes back to what she's doing usually.
well,
but still, like she kind of acted on her own.
she did act
That was
on her
true.
own there because she was personally involved because her son was like involved in all of
And
that.
that's probably why they let her scan her. When he actually scans her and shoots her, Conway does. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do that, really.
Exactly. That's where he was like yelling at Sybil, like, "What color are you?"
Yeah, and then it let him scan her. So that makes sense. He got to punish her.
yeah, and
And what's his face went crazy.
Good.
damn it, you just said something, Claire. Remind me. Something about
The minds and the brains working together,
your teeth.
agreeing.
Right. They did agree, and then they reinstated Akane's license because like the
They
division guys confronted her
Yeah,
about
they
it,
have
and
to
it's
shoot
just
her.
like, yeah, we got it.
And then last second,
back.
Hollow Boy comes out and he's like, wait.
You know,
And Gino, yeah. Gino,
Yes.
God, see, Gino's so
he's
the
so
best.
protective of her, and it's so sweet.
Well, and he almost overly protective though, because early in the season he's like, don't get too involved with like this ghost chasing thing. You're gonna turn
He
out
was
like
worried
Kogami.
about her because
He was.
He's gone through the whole descent process. Like
He's
he
been
knows.
forcing out. Yeah, no, like, at one point he when she was running off said, "Don't come with me." Enforcers, do not come with me. I said, "Do not come with me." 2 seconds later, hi. Like she was just there.
It's
Hey,
like
yeah, so-
don't be using yourself as bait now. And it's like I'm actually using myself.
Yeah. Well, I think like it's probably good that Gino is there, like kind of watching Akane because she is pretty reckless. To be
reckless.
honest,
Little bit.
But Gino's there. He's like, "I did the same, girl. I'm in this position. You know.
you know
You know."
how it is.
But I'm glad most main characters did not die this time. Like we kept our favorite cast. Nobody really died.
Yeah, none of
Yeah.
the main characters died.
Now the movie
Yeah.
though.
Keep going back to the movie thing.
I'm excited.
It's Urabuchi.
I am excited, and it is the Butcher, the Ura Butcher.
When is it?
It,
I know
wait,
that
it,
was
is,
his
it
name.
is. It has already come out in Japan, but for us to watch it, we'll have to wait till it comes out on Blu-ray in Japan because then it'll go online.
That's the things we knew we did from Noka. Just watch the first translation we get our hands on.
Speaking
And
of
then,
which, we do have on April 7th the English Blu-ray of Rebellion comes out, and as soon as it I'm getting my Blu-ray copy in the mail, but if it goes online before that, I'm gonna immediately watch it because it's
Mexico
gonna
is pain.
be great, and I can't wait to hear the Cake song in English. It's gonna be
Alex
great.
likes Mexican Magic.
I
can't tell.
I don't know.
It's a mystery. It's a secret to everyone, as
See, what I'm
Zelda
hoping
would
though
say.
is I'm really hoping that they bring in for the new Blu-ray. You know how they usually add the little special effects and stuff. I'm really hoping they have Excalibur in it this time. They have a distinct lack of Excalibur in this movie.
Excalibur is kind of a Mokuka.
That is,
He is a
I
mega
posted one of the Year of Cube pictures I posted to your wall was
how about we don't bring that up?
Excalibur and Cube. And
That-
he was
no.
like, let's go on the grandest of adventures.
That was only handleable because I saw Satan and I saw God. And I was like, all right, I'll take one of these.
This equals out to like a 50-50.
After I saw the picture, I made the face you make when you see Excalibur. Really upset. That was so good. But anyways, yes.
Annoying.
So
And then, what did you guys think of the whole omnipotence paradox thing we get into? How,
I
an
love paradoxes.
It made sense.
omnipotent being can't create a boulder that they that is unmovable because then
It's-
they couldn't move it.
It's a classic argument, so it made sense for this case. It did actually make sense because Sherlock, of course, would pose that question because he's Sherlock, and that's why they did a good job of posing it. Because when they did, they brought it to Sybil, and it worked. So I mean, it worked in the end. So that's why at the beginning I'm like, "Where's he going with this?" And I was like, "Oh, wait, that's actually kind of a good point. Can Sybil judge itself or like that whole thing?"
Yeah, and it was interesting, how like because Kamui definitely had like a certain respect for Akane and said like someday there will become someone like a true judge, and it won't matter how many brains you take away. It might be standing in front of me right now, and then he saves her, killing himself to kill Togane.
I was convinced that he was gonna let her. His crime coefficient actually comes up. Kama always does.
Right.
I thought she was gonna shoot him, and in that it was gonna go through him and hit the system because they had that before. Shooting through someone can hurt something else. So I really thought that was gonna be the case. Like he was gonna try to use himself to kill the Sybil system. But the reason I respect Convoy so much is because he only wanted the question itself to change it. Maybe not destroy it, but to at least change it.
Right.
And he did.
He was kind of like a principled. He was like, "What color are you, Sybil? What color am I?" And like Sybil answered him. They did the freaky thing to make themselves zero again, but they did it.
I remember like the first season, they would be like, "Oh, you're dark blue," or "You're red." Like they never actually said colors.
Yeah.
I kind of would have liked colors because it just had numbers, and that's cool and all that. But I mean, like, if we're talking about colors, I would like to see some darn colors.
Yeah, they talked about the colors a bit in season 1, like because it's weird because it's like your hue, your psychopath, and your crime coefficient are all kind of interchangeable words for the same thing.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, what's color? And it's like 32.
Wait, hold on. If we're using the sim scale, that is actually color, isn't it? Or numbers?
No, you need 6 digits. It's a
Well, maybe they just exited out.
alphanumerical code.
Anime magic.
Hey, there was one little. This is a minor nitpick, but because for overall, like Psychopaths is like really good about like avoiding fan service. There was one scene where
The towel.
Yeah, I was a little.
Right. No, when she walked out in the shower, I was like, it's one of those scenes.
Yeah, I was, like they didn't do anything like bad with it really, but I was just kind of like, really?
I mean,
no matter how much
she's by herself. Like girls do that all the time. I'm sure guys do too. Just walk around without clothes on when you're out of the shower.
Yeah, I walk to my room naked all the time.
I know. I
It
mean,
is a foot away. Yours is too.
It's something you do, but it was just kind of like unnecessary.
No matter how serious the anime is, there's always fan service. Like for instance, one that has like no fan service. Not surprised to see it was High School of the Dead. Like that one. Caught me off guard
no fan service whatsoever.
But I mean, every series has it. It's just it was so little. I didn't even think of it as saying like I think Kill la Kill spoiled me because fan service just doesn't hit me as much anymore because that entire series just makes it a joke.
Yeah, but
So,
that's the thing. It becomes like they don't make it sexual; they make it a joke.
And that's why it doesn't faze me anymore. I didn't even think of that as fan service until you brought it up.
What's her name with the blonde hair?
Shion.
She is Babe Alert though.
She is all the fan service the show needs because she is 100% a total babe, and I love her. She just does not.
Because I mean,
care.
the entire series, people look like okay, they're all in suits. You see her, and you're like,
I wonder
whoa.
if
Like even in the end, she's like, "Oh, he's dead. I feel like I missed out on something." Like she said the same thing like Kogami. It's like maybe we should have had the sex, and he's like, "Oh well," and then leaves.
She said something like that about Saiga, Sherlock Holmes, after he had left.
I mean, it's Sherlock Holmes.
And I think it's kind of funny because I'm pretty sure it was in the last episode of season 1 of Psychopaths where we saw like her and Yayoi were in bed.
And then it's again.
And then
I was
again
like,
in the last
girlfriends.
episode. Like this is gonna be a tradition. Like at the end of the movie, we have to end with a scene of them
Getting laid.
making out.
Yep. It's really good.
And then another interesting thing near the very end, Chief Kase, like the new body of Chief Kase, talks with
The fifth model.
yeah, really, version 3.2.
Da-da-da-da.
Talks with Akane about how like this whole thing that you've done could lead to disaster because it's possible for like there to be innocent people within a group, but the overall group is evil. So if we judge psychopaths in this way, it could lead to all sorts of problems. But Akane was like, I'm not that pessimistic. And she had a nice line, kind of like how she said, like, the law doesn't like rule people create the law back in
She
season
upheld that in
1.
the series, which I liked.
Yeah, she
She
said,
is the best.
it's not society that determines people's futures. It is people who determine society's future.
Yeah.
That is true.
Another nice line from her. There was that whole thing where they asked her to join the Sybil system, and she said, I know you're not that interested in me. You're trying to provoke me. When the time
they are serious.
well, I mean, that gets to the whole thing of if she's actually criminally asymptomatic or not, which we don't really know the answer to. But she has a nice line there that I wrote down. When the time comes that you yourselves decide to be rid of you, I'll go to hell with you.
Yep, no, she accepts that fact.
Yeah. So it's interesting how Akane, like at the end of season 1, is like the most, at the same time, the most loyal, like supporter of the Sybil system, and yet at the same time, like the one who wants to see it destroyed the most. You
That's
know?
why she's the most dangerous to them. She's the one they have not been able to stop, and she's been to their house twice.
You breaking in my house, you little kids.
Coming in, gonna bring in some more friends for a party. So that's why, again, the movie, we'll see what happens. Is it gonna be the end of the series? Have they revealed that?
They haven't revealed if it's the end of the series.
God, I want to see Sybil destroyed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would certainly would like to see that, like, because that would be the final end of the series if
yeah.
there is one. But at the same time, like, the way Urobuchi writes, you know, typically there isn't, like, the things are fully wrapped up ending, you know.
It's always ambiguous.
Yeah.
I mean, like, in the first season, like, it was that one point where, like, the Force couldn't get to a certain area where Makishima was, and people were just committing crimes because they could. Because he was, like, riling them up. So if the system falls and people hear, like, oh, we're not being constantly monitored, we're not going to be, like, found, like, we can do what we want. I feel like horrible things are going to happen.
That's the whole point. If you just shot Sybil and took it down, like, mass chaos would ensue throughout the country. Akane's whole point is the people, society has to get to a point where they accept, like, that, you know, Sybil is wrong, like, the system is wrong, and we can move on from it.
Yeah,
you
we have to
know?
evolve, not just, you know, do the cold turkey treatment.
Exactly. So, that's pretty much Psycho Pass 2. Overall thoughts about the show. For myself,
Yes.
like I said, like, online, it's gotten a lot of hate from some people, and personally, like, while it is clearly the writer and production, house changed, like, you can tell that from watching the show. I'm sorry. And it is not as good as the first season, you know. I think the biggest kind of problems I have with it are, like, the grim darkness, you know, that it gets to, you know, and then, like, just the lack of, like, you know, significant character development. Like, we got some, you know, especially with, like, our newer characters, they got some more screen time, but I would have liked to see, you know, more of that if, like, the season was longer and things, you know. Some things with Kamui, like the whole composite body thing, like, stretches plausibility a little bit, but not to the point that, like, I think it's a major problem. And, like, at the end of the day, you know, even if it, like, wasn't as smart as Psycho Pass Season 1 was, it was really entertaining. Like, because I watched the show week to week originally, like, as it came out.
You're one of those kids.
I did. And then I rewatched it before the podcast actually dubbed, because that's Funimation's simuldub thing. And, like, it was, like, I looked forward to a lot week to week. Like, I wanted to know what was happening. It ended on ridiculous cliffhangers sometimes, and that's the worst, but also the best thing about anime. So I don't know. I'm happy with Psycho Pass Season 2 overall. You know, I wish it could have been better, you know, for sure. I kind of wish it was as good as the first season, but not a bad follow-up at the same time. Kenny.
Honestly, I mean, I like the first one a lot better. I mean, that's pretty much goes unarguable. Like, the first one was just better, but for being a second part of the series where most of the original creators and, like, directors and stuff were gone, except for the director, and they only had 11 episodes in a shorter time, not as much character development, I still found myself caring about the characters, liking it, and agreeing with what Kamui was doing, and I like how the Sybil system is at least attempting to evolve, and I'm interested to see how it ties to the movie to bring that back in. So, I mean, I liked it. It wasn't my favorite, but I liked it.
I should have, like, a counter for how many times Kenny's mentioned the movie, because it's got to be at least, like,
The
6.
movie, I'm not totally paid to do
point.
this, by the way, but the movie's gonna be great. Just saying.
Clara.
Like, I definitely liked Kamui a lot more than Makishima, like, as a villain. Like, Makishima was just legitimately just doing this for kicks. Like,
But he had a point. He was like, Sybil is a system where it takes away your free will, and I'm trying to liberate humanity to follow their free will again.
He wasn't sympathetic to me. Like, he was just 100% just a murderer. Like, he had that whole, like, thing Akane has where he can't get clouded no matter what, and that's what made him dangerous. But, like, Kirito had, like, a following. He had people truly believing in him to the point, like, they would just die. Like, it was a cult, but he had, like, a good reason for it. Like, both of them had legit reasons, but I liked Kamui more.
He wasn't Bishonen.
Like,
He wasn't Bishonen, but he was, like, more of a... what's it called? Like, not Moe, but, like, more of the Shota character, like the cutesy little boy.
He was.
yeah, his character design is, like, a little bit more generic.
It is very
you know?
He's
plain.
more like a child, I like to think. He looks more childish than most because it's still that thing they took away from him in his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what I saw. I could be wrong.
I would agree with you, like, that Kamui, like, has a better point than Makishima does, even though Makishima does have a point to make. I would just say, overall, I like Makishima better as a villain just because I thought he was more interesting, you know, with, like, his quoting of philosophy and,
and he
you
was
know,
a perfect foil to
and
Akane.
being such a threat to Akane, you know, episode 11, still love that scene.
And him and
Kogami.
keep saying Kamina. Kogami's fights were incredible.
They really were. Like, I very much liked this season. like stated before, like just because it did not have the same resources, it's the same thing like my argument between Avatar and Korra. Like they just didn't have the resources at the time for the first part and then the first season again. Like it was. I still really liked it though. Like I got to see my girl. She didn't get corrupted. That was what I was scared about. I was like, don't do this to me. Don't make me lose her.
Wait for the movie.
I cannot lose her. Like up until like they're not gonna do it just for the movie. That would be so actually cliche.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Like
For Kogami should have collided.
and it brought back some fundamental just beliefs I have about anime is that I can't like people and I'm always wrong. So I need to
liked,
just
what's his face last time? He just died.
yeah. So I'm wrong and
You don't pick the winning, like it's
I
like picking
really
the winning
don't.
horse at the relay.
no. See, I go oh maybe these side characters they have a lot of development. I'm gonna try to see which one I can pick that'll do the best. Number one, best side
Yeah, that's
character.
also true.
He's actually the murderer.
Pitting your bets on Kyo from Clannad.
Hey, Sunahara's
Yeah.
still great though.
Sunahara is actually
Sunahara
great.
is great.
Why is
But,
your hair
like,
black?
Oh god, but like I really liked it a lot. I love Kogami and I'm glad they didn't actually physically bring him back because that would have just been way too much.
Yeah.
Well, we were kind of, when we did the podcast on the first episode, we were kind of like hoping he would come back because you kind of saw him in the opening a little.
If he could be like a shadowy figure in the like the saved her life, that'd be cool. But yeah, having him as a full character, he had all the stuff happen. We needed like a series without him kind of thing.
I think it's clear that they knew they were doing the movie and like that Kogami has a big part in the movie and that's where his place
And
is.
it's cool he's gone because it shows how much she really misses him. It built that development, like how much she does still care about
Like
him.
how much he
Yeah.
really impacted her
Yeah.
life.
And if he came back, they're kind of not. We wouldn't get as much as that. So
Yeah, like it wouldn't be like like he wouldn't be as impactful.
Yeah,
Like as powerful as a symbol.
And because honestly, like this season, because we're only on 11 episodes, because we're so focused on Kamui, we're so busy. I feel like bringing Kobigami back in is like a major plot point. Why are you laughing?
Sorry.
I've been trying to find it. I'm sorry.
We're almost done. I promise. What was I gonna say? Kogami.
I'm sorry. Don't rush for me. I'll wait.
All right. Kogami really.
I've accepted my fate.
Oh my god.
Okay.
All right. Like Akane meeting with Kogami again is gonna be like a major deal because Kogami like is a latent criminal now.
He is,
like
he is.
so
He
like
He's out of Japan, right? They confirm he
100%.
left.
well, based on what I know about the movie, like he is outside of
Okay.
Japan. Yes.
I
But
would be outside of Japan too if I
Yeah,
was
you'd be
him.
dead.
exactly. But Kogami that could have been like the entire season. Could have been Kogami and Akane like confronting each other again. To float
Hot stuff.
to put that in the middle of Kamui and not give it the time it deserves would have been
If
bad.
it was a 22 episode series, I think they would have, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but it wasn't. So that's how it is.
But just kudos for Akane for just taking down what's his name
Togane.
in like 3 seconds.
Oh no, that was great. And
Yes.
how he cut off his thumb, that was so good. I'm sorry. The
I
fact
thought
that
he
she
was
took
just
him
gonna
down.
cut off his entire hand, and I
thought
was
too.
like, "That's
He
overkill,
broke his thumb
man."
though, so.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
can just break. You don't have to cut your thumb off. You can just dislocate your thumb. But
Yeah, one of the most rewarding things is seeing him get shot. That felt pretty good.
oh, that was so good
yeah.
because he was just ugh.
Painted black.
Ugh.
It's like that song.
That's what I was thinking the entire time. I was like, what is this?
That's
The
a great
80s?
song. All right, so for next week on the podcast, we'll be doing a show called Maoyu. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. 12-episode like fantasy series that does a lot of cool things like economics and politics.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's on Crunchyroll. It's a really good show, actually. I like it a lot. So you guys can email us at techheads@evdwproductions.com. Follow us on Twitter at techheadsou. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Give us good ratings and reviews. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being here. I wanted to talk to you about Psychopaths since we are the Psychopaths people, after all.
Yeah, we are. We were there at the beginning.
We
Spooky
are.
Boogie.
And now, Kenny go pee. See you guys later.
God, no, I had to go to the beginning.
Bye, guys.
This product is copyright AVW Productions 2014.